Ahoy, Voyagers! Welcome to another roundtable edition of the Hearthside Chat. Today, we'll be looking at mechanics and themes for the new expansion, Voyage to the Sunken City, and of course, we'll have some card reveals too. I'm your host, John McIntyre, and I had the privilege of being the set lead on this expansion. Today, we're joined by an incredible crew. Let's give a quick hello.
Hey there, I'm Valerie Chu, Senior Narrative Designer, and thanks for joining us today.
What's up, everybody? I'm Leo Robles Gonzalez, card designer on the Hearthstone team. I'm stoked to be here again for another Hearthside Chat.
Hey everyone, I'm Tiffany Chu, concept artist. I'm excited to be talking about the new expansion.
Voyage to the Sunken City tells the story of a band of adventurers as they explore the ruins of Zinajari. It's a city as dangerous as it is difficult to spell. And this is a classic adventure story filled with all the silly Hearthstone antics you'd come to expect. Val, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Sunken City?
Absolutely. 10,000 years ago, Zinajari was the center of the Night Elf capital, a glorious, shining treasure of a city. However, a catastrophe struck when the Great Sundering tore it apart, along with creating all the different continents of Azeroth. Following that event, Zinajari went to the bottom of the sea, along with all of its history and relics. But now, Ambassador Phelan, who formerly lived in Zinajari, is eager to revisit his home for his own personal purposes, and he has hired Innie Stormcoil and Sir Finley to help him do that and explore all the way down there. Here in this card, Bioluminescence, we can see Sir Finley taking in the sights under the sea.
So bioluminescence can actually be found in one of the many environments we did for the Sunken City expansion. The art team was excited to do all of the ocean biomes, and it was one of the most content-heavy expansions we've ever done. There were the classic Zinajari ruins and the gardens, then there are the mysterious abyssal depths where you can find bioluminescence. There's also the trenches and the coral reefs, where we wanted to depart more from the typical blues and greens of the ocean. The trenches can be seen here in the Fires of Zinajari, and we use the city runes to really link all the environments together.
The underwater setting is such a novel environment for us that it led to a bunch of inspiration for both, the biomes, but also for mechanics. One of the new mechanics is Naga, which is a new minion type. Val, can you tell us sort of the history of the Naga?
Sure thing. But John, you know how that city was full of people? Guess what happened to them after they went to the bottom of the ocean? They acquired snake-like attributes to survive in this underwater setting, and they are all now the Naga. So they have retained their connection to magic and arcane power, but they are also fiercely defensive of their home and hostile toward anyone who is invading, whether it be pirates, explorers, or basically any surface dweller is on their no list.
And we haven't done a new minion type that we supported an archetype for since all the way back with Elementals in Journey to Un'Goro. So Leo, can you tell us how the design team tackled this process?
Yeah, I think when we create a new minion type, where we start is just by asking the question, how do they differ from other minion types and how do they have their own identity? Naga are all about spells and mastering the arcane. And so because of that, we took the opportunity to make Naga a minion type that cares all about spells and casting spells to power them up. I think with Elementals in Un'Goro, we established that they care about playing Elementals last turn to power them up. And now with Naga, what they care about is while you're holding them in your hand, you cast a spell to power them up. I think a great example is this new priest Naga called Handmaiden. Handmaiden asks you to, while she's in your hand, cast 3 spells, and in doing so, when you play her, you get to draw 3 cards from your deck.
So with all the new exciting types of Naga that we have, the art team wanted to make sure that we don't just have a bunch of angry snake people, and we have a range of different personalities. So we wanted some Naga that were serious Naga, but we also wanted some silly Naga and some cute Naga. With Coral Keeper here, you can see how we use the setting to inspire a very unique character.
So we've got Naga, and opposing them are the pirates and explorers who are exploring the city and searching for relics. We get to tell the story of this through the new keyword, Dredge. Dredge allows the player to look at the bottom 3 cards of their deck and choose one to put on top. Leo, you were really involved in the iterative process to come up with this design. Can you give us a little bit of background?
Definitely. From the very beginning of the design process, we really like this idea of your deck kind of being like the ocean, where the top card is the surface level and the bottom card is the sea floor. I think that idea spawned the mechanic of Dredge, where you're kind of digging up treasure all the way from the bottom of the ocean all the way to the top where you can play them. Previously, we've never had a whole mechanic geared around the order of your deck. We've maybe had like a handful of cards. So for most of the time in Hearthstone's existence, really drawing from the top or the middle or the bottom of your deck, they were all kind of the same. Like you don't know what's coming next. But with Dredge, you have a way to influence what's coming next, right? You get to put something at the top of your deck to have a more consistent draw. But not only that, another cool aspect is you have this little pocket of 3 cards at the bottom of your deck that you can revisit with later dredges if there's maybe some really strong spell that you don't need right now but you could use later. And so what we did is we created a cycle of cards called the Ajaran Treasures. Here's an example right here, Ajaran Gardens, a new druid spell that gives all minions in your hand a buff and puts the Sunken Gardens at the bottom of your deck. And if you manage to get that and play it, it gives your minions everywhere that same buff. Really powerful card, and it going to the bottom of your deck gives you a really sweet piece of treasure to try to dredge up to the top of your deck.
The treasures are also great because they really capture that feeling of Zinashari during its glory days. It's almost like you can go to a museum, but play with all the exhibits yourself and wield that priceless power.
Yeah, I love when a story can be told through a card. And here it's a story being told through multiple mechanics interacting. Tiff, can you talk a little bit about the art's approach to communicating sunken cards?
For sure. So with such a unique mechanic from design, we wanted to make sure that when players did dredge a card from the bottom of their deck, it felt really powerful and really fun to play. We wanted to make it look really ancient as well. So we have these treasures with cracks and they're kind of worn, but they have this powerful blue magic inspired from the ocean. And they look really powerful and invincible.
Yeah, I love the bright blue magic that the Ajaran treasures gained from being in the ocean. Of course, one thing you would expect to see in the ocean are fish, and we have a fish to reveal right now, Piranha Swarmer. By itself, it's not too intimidating, but get a swarm of these and it quickly becomes dangerous. Piranha Swarmer is a collectible card, but we're going to be making a lot of cards that generate Piranha Swarmers. Let's look at one now, Schooling. This will help you start assembling that swarm. Tiff, I know on the art side of things, we did something kind of different for these cards.
Yeah, so with Schooling, players are adding a bunch of fish into their hands. And the art team saw this as an opportunity to add a bunch of color into the otherwise blues and greens of the ocean. So you're adding not just regular piranhas to your hand, but piranhas of many different colors.
We have our small critters, the piranhas. We also have colossal critters through our colossal minions. Let's look at the colossal minion from the cinematic. He's big, he's mean, he's crabby, he's Krakatoa. Krakatoa comes with 2 claws, and he increases their attack. Leo, colossal minions are just so insane. How did you all design these minions?
Yeah, I think Colossal started with the question that actually you, John, proposed of what does it mean to have a giant minion, like these huge sea monsters? How do we convey a minion that's bigger than other minions in Hearthstone? And where we ended up was the current design of Colossal, where Krakatoa, for example, whether you play him, summon him, transform into him, whatever, as long as he enters play, he comes with his 2 crab claws. And I think this keyword is while seemingly kind of simple at first, that keyword lets us kind of add a lot more complexity and a lot more just fun mechanics in those token cards that we wouldn't usually do with a card that just summons them like normal. The reason it's an exception is because there's this expectation of this huge monster where all the pieces have their own unique characteristics, and it still feels like one cohesive unit where each piece can call out all the other pieces. And it kind of feels like you're fighting a boss, like in an old retro video game.
Cool. I think my favorite thing for Colossal Minions is definitely the art. Tiff, how did the art team bring these characters to life?
So Design came up with such an awesome minion design that we wanted to make super epic. But as you can imagine, it's a little bit of a challenge for art, because we wanted to make a giant art piece that would span across multiple minion slots. It took a little bit of fine-tuning and tweaking of composition, but eventually we came up with this really, really awesome minion that spawned from your board and occupied multiple minion slots that you could beat up your opponent with.
Colossal Minions are sure to make a huge splash in the meta when they come out with Voyage to the Sunken City. That's all we're revealing for today, but I hope you learned something from the different disciplines on the Hearthstone team. I'll see you at the Sunken City.
Bye!
Peace.